All right, so this next part assumes that you already got the kegs filled, labeled properly, put in the fridge. Now we gotta take care of these vats and get them clean and ready to go for the next one. But we still have the coffee inside of it, so I went ahead and got one of the big old trash cans. And this is when you're gonna want some gloves. You gotta open up the vat. We get the big 10-pound bag of coffee. Well, it's probably more than that now because it's wet. But we gotta take these out and put it into the trash can. That's what we gotta do. There's gonna be a little bit of cold brew left in there, but that's okay. We're gonna dump it out and rinse it out. And I'm just gonna show you how I do one of these. And I'm gonna hook it on to the next one when we put it in the sink. All right, so after you already got the bags out of the vats and you brought the trash can back, go ahead, dump out any of the remaining cold brew. Just that leftover, shouldn't be much. And we're gonna rinse it out. If I can get this. Yes. Rinse it out a little bit. Try to get the sidewalls and the bottom. And then we're going to dump some of that remaining water that we use as a weight into here. And you should have about 2 to 3 gallons in there. If that wasn't enough, go ahead and put a little bit more water in. And while that's going, you're going to need some of this clearly cold. This is the first part. And then Complete Care is the sanitizer. So the clearly cold, let's measure out about 10 milliliters. And this is one of those fancy bottles where if you squeeze it, it brings the liquid up into this part. And you can see that there's a 10 milliliter thing here. So bringing that up. So I don't necessarily need that much. I'm going to pour it in. I'm going to try to leave that sit for about 5 minutes. And you're going to have to do that for both. So you can probably put both vats in here when you do this. I'm going to go ahead and rinse out these tubes while I'm waiting. And you're going to put the tube, submerge it into that solution. And notice I am wearing gloves for this. I don't think it's terrible if you're not wearing gloves, but I like to wear gloves when I'm working with different chemicals, you know. And usually I put 1 tube in each vat, but since I'm just working with the one vat, I'm just going to go ahead and put this one in there too. And while you're waiting, there is part of the spout that has a metal part that's on the inside. You can pull that further in and loosen it up just so you can see it. This is what I was talking about. This little piece goes on the inside. So pull it out so that it can kind of just sit in the solution better. Grab a clean towel, submerge it. I'm going to use this to wipe around the edges. That way, make sure I get rid of any residue that's left on there. And I forgot we need to grab one more thing. Well, I'm going to wipe the tubes. The outside at least, right? Wipe the outside of this. Grab the other one, the outside. I'm just pulling it through the towel here. I'm wiping the the spigot piece here. And while we're waiting, let's grab one more thing, and that's the long brush. This guy here. Stick that in there. I'm going to use the smaller one to kind of brush any small pieces of this spigot, push it through. I'm going to do that both ways, just to make sure I'm getting everything. Alright, I'm going to do that on the outside spigot as well, and to push it in. I'm going to open it up, and so it's going to let some of the liquid out. So I'm going to push this through. Make sure I'm getting everything around it, and I'm also scrubbing around the spigot to make sure that it's clean. All right, and then this is probably the most labor-intensive part, and that is trying to get the brush through as far as you can. Notice I'm grabbing just a little bit, pushing, a little bit, pushing. I'm going to keep doing that. And get it probably about halfway through the tube, and then pull it through. And then I'm going to do that on the other side of this tube. And notice this is the fatter side versus the skinnier side, so I'm using the fat side to go through this. Alright. Push it about halfway through and pull it out. So I'm going to go ahead and open up the vat again. Just let it start pouring through. I'm going to go ahead and store this one away since it's empty. I'll just go ahead and move all this over. It's been about 5 minutes probably. But if you need to. Now, when I'm doing this for both, like I start the process on this, I move on to the next process, I know for sure it's going to take me at least 5 minutes to do the next part of the process with the vat. So as long as you're doing both at the same time, you shouldn't have to wait much longer. I'm going to go ahead and pour this out. And then I'm going to rinse it again. And you're going to want to rinse out through the spigot. So make sure you have enough in there to do that. Make sure you're rinsing off the other pieces too. Rinsing through these. All right. Dump it out. Close it up. Now, I might as well use the next one here. Usually I use this on each vat, but I'm going to dump this in. Again, we're going to want probably about 2 gallons, maybe 3 gallons. And now we're going to use the Complete Care, the green one. Same thing, about 10 milliliters or so. And pour that in. Now we want to let this one sit for a minute. But while we're doing that, we can go ahead, put the tubes in, put the spigot piece in, right? Now this one we don't rinse after. But what we are going to do is grab that rag again. And I'm going to fill it up with this new sanitizer. All right. And rub the inner walls. Wipe them down. Make sure they all get covered. All right, and then we're also going to rub the outer walls. And this way it just is a final sanitization of the whole thing. All right. And I'm also just going to wipe down where the spigot is. I'm going to open up the spigot, let some of this new solution through. I'm going to go ahead and put the spigot piece back in. And it's not twisted in. I don't know if you can see very well, but it kind of just suctions in with these gaskets that are here. So I'm just going to kind of twist it a little bit until I know that it's in there. And then you need to angle it so that it's almost against the bottom of the vat like this. So that's how it should look inside the vat against the bottom. All right. Go ahead and empty the tubes, set them to the side. And then dump this out. Hopefully it will not have many suds. I don't like it remaining sudsy on this, because it's sudsy now because it was so agitated. But if there's a little bit of suds, just give a small rinse. Just to get rid of the bubbles. Because otherwise there shouldn't be really any bubbles in there. Alright, so now this one's done. One more part. So the other thing is, with the lid, all you gotta do is get that sanitize part, wipe it down on the outside, wipe it down on the inside. That way it gives it a little bit of a sanitization. And then you can use the sanitizer that we just used with the rag, wipe down the table. And I don't know if you can see, let me see. So wipe down the table. And then place this upside down. It's probably going to leave a little bit of water or whatever, but that's okay. Not a big deal. And with the... Wow, everything's in my way now. Again, I usually do this together instead of one at a time. I'm just doing that for the video. Clean lid. Just put it on top, like so. Face down, just like that. With the tubes, we can put them on the shelf up here. You might want to put the empty ends on the inside towards the wall so that way it doesn't dangle down. But that is the process, and we're going to do the same thing on this vat, but I'm not going to do it on the video. But that is the process of how you clean the vats after you're done with the kegging.